Welcome to Freeform Radio on the Freeform Network. You can follow us at Facebook at Freeform Network, on Twitter at FFR Podcast. And remember to send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Again, this is Freeform Radio. We got many good hosts here. We got Daniel.
Yes, sir. Chilling back here, relaxing. Just had a tortilla with some cream cheese in it, and it was pretty good, man.
We got Noel.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining us.
And we got All Good Andy. And I did not buy any Facebook stock during this collapse. So I don't know. I'm debating if I should buy some.
You don't got any metaverse property, man?
I don't got no metaverse. I'm thinking about buying some NFTs though. But that's a discussion for down the road. But we're all here. We're ready to rock your guys' ears off. So let's get this thing rolling. Danny, what's going on, man? I see you had your own post-COVID here. What's going on, man? It sounds like you survived it. You're here with us, unless it's like some fucking robotic thing or something.
Yeah, I'm the Tupac Shakur hologram.
The hologram. There you go.
Right. No, man. COVID got me, man. Got sick. Hit me pretty hard for like maybe 4 days, lightly for like another 2 days, and then finally kind of subsided and just kind of lingered on with a little bit of a cough. But yeah, I had to deal with a fever, really bad shakes and chills and sweats. I had a sore throat. So definitely not as bad as maybe other people that I've heard their experiences, where hospitalizations, difficult breathing, stuff like that. Thank God mine was a lot milder in that comparison. And even my fever wasn't too big time. The most it was 101. Once I felt the fever start, from there on forward, I was taking Tylenol to keep it under control, whether I had a fever or not. And it never got anything crazy. But yeah, COVID got me. Finally passed it. Still got a little bit of like a frog in my throat kind of thing, where I have to like clear my throat. And I still sometimes have like a little bit of a runny nose, but nothing exaggerated. That could just be, pollen or, some other crap that's not really COVID related. But I gotta say, man, if I'm assuming I got the Omicron version, it's pretty mild, man, and it might go to where some of these mask mandates are being lifted in a couple of weeks from the time of this recording. They're going to be lifted. I think might be why is that they're seeing that this Omicron version is a little bit lighter, and it might be something where let's try to build herd immunity. Let's have this shit pass around. Let's, obviously you can't advertise it like that. You can't tell everybody, hey, go out there and get COVID so that we can get this shit over with. But maybe it's like, all right, people start getting these flu-like symptoms. And in some occasions, not even that. I've heard of some people where it's just like a cough and a runny nose kind of thing, and that's it. Obviously I have heard of other people also with this Omicron having a little more difficulty breathing, really fatigue, stuff like that. So obviously there's a spectrum to it, but maybe they want to get it over with and get everybody sick with it. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets over it. And now a bigger percentage of people have immunity to this thing, and maybe we get on the other side of this. But I don't know if that's my conspiracy thought on it, but maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I had it too, but I think the worst for me was I had like 3 days of like a high fever. I was like at 103, and after that was just a lot of congestion. But like after mine started like Tuesday night, by Saturday I just had some congestion and like I was good. I didn't have and none of the shakes or anything like that, and so I mean I was pretty good after that. And then yeah, I mean like I said, it's everybody's a little bit different, so I'm glad everybody's over it. And the Omicron, to me it was like just like a really bad flu. I've had the flu before, a long time ago, and I think one of them one time it really kicked my ass. I was like high fever. I had the shakes. Like I was out of it for like a fucking week, sweating my ass off, all that shit.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Some people they get it hard, and some people it just passes by like nothing. Uh, my whole family, the whole house, we all got sick around Christmas time. So it's it's months ago now at this point. But we actually my parents didn't get hit too hard. They got over it like nothing really happened. They got a fever, and then that was about it. A cough here and there, but nothing too serious. It was my oldest brother and myself that got hit the hardest, and we got like the full blown like flu, chest cold symptoms, and then it kind of developed into like this systemic thing where it affected one thing and then another thing, and we didn't get sleep for multiple days, and it just like our brain was like in this foggy overdrive mode, just desperately wanting to get sleep. And yeah, it was an ordeal, dude. It lasted, I want to say, 2 solid weeks, and then the third week was just kind of lingering symptoms, and then the fourth week was like less of that. And now, where I am now, I think it's over a month now, like probably week 6 or 7 at this point. Yeah, I got nothing really, nothing going on with that. I got a runny nose, but I'm pretty sure that's allergies. I've been
Right.
sneezing now. The whole time I had COVID, no sneezing, and I sneeze regularly. Like people know me for sneezing 3 times in a row on multiple occasions throughout a day because of allergies and dust and whatever. Not one sneeze throughout the whole COVID thing. And then once COVID like went through me and I didn't have it anymore, here come the sneezes again. I was like, all right, back to normal, back to the regular schedule programming.
Right. Yeah. No, man. It's weird how different people, different ways, and like you mentioned, for my parents, it was kind of lax and not much to it, and it was even the same for Junior and my wife. For me, it took a good week of solid dealing with it, and then like another week of kind of like lingering issues with it. But for them, man, it was more like 2 days, 3 days max, where it was just like a fever for a day or two, and then the last day just some congestion and some cough. And I was kind of jealous. I was like, geez, man, for you guys it was just pretty chill, and for me it hit me a little harder, but obviously not as hard as some other people that had complications. But yeah, man. Yeah, COVID is hopefully done in this house, and hopefully there's not some other Decepticon version coming out, and then that shit's another ordeal. Hopefully after
The
this,
uh the Galvatron, the
right?
Galvatron version after it gets remade. So what'd you do, Dan? You just chilled and binge watched some crap, or were you what were you doing, or you just like staring at the wall?
No, no, I watched a ton of TV. I was kind of fatigued. I didn't mention that, but I was fatigued where I was kind of tired. I was kind of zoning in and out of going to sleep and staying awake, going to sleep, staying awake. Just taking a shitload of naps and just laying in bed watching TV. I just put Star Trek Next Generation on, and
Yeah, that put you to sleep. It was not the COVID, it was the
no,
next generation.
it's man, it's got to be like my fifth time watching the whole series through. And while I had COVID, I actually finished it. I was like already halfway through the entire series, but just with during this whole COVID thing, I would just leave it running and I would doze off. I would wake back up, doze off. And, I did notice that towards the end, there were a few weak episodes that I would be like, oh, man, in retrospect, these aren't that great. But there's still a ton of great ones, man. Towards the end, man, there's a lot of good ones with the Federations, not so much the Vulcans, but the Kardashians and a few other ones. Man, there's some good stuff in there, man.
Did you watch because I know you like Next Generation. Did you watch the Picard on Paramount Plus?
I did watch Picard the first season. Second season's coming out in a few days, actually, and I'm excited to watch the season 2 because Q comes back, and Q's a big reason
Really?
why.
Bringing
Yeah,
back Q? Jesus.
right. And he's a big reason why Next Generation was awesome. Almost every episode where Q was in it was entertaining and really good. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited to see him in Picard 2, but to Picard 1, it was okay. There's nothing out of the ordinary, like super good. Like this was awesome. Kind of like when after I finished watching the Superman guy, Witcher. After I saw Witcher season 1, I was just like, man, this is awesome. It's a great show. Can't wait for season 2. For Picard, it wasn't like that. It was good because I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm a Next Generation fan. It was good. I could see how somebody who's not a Next Generation fan could think that this is a poor season. But it was still passable, good. I liked it a lot more than Discovery, the new one that they got going. And then I even watched the animated one, Prodigy, I think it's called. A lot.
For the one for kids or Lower
Yeah,
Decks?
that the Nickelodeon, even Lower Decks. It's about at par with Lower Decks. Lower Decks also has a couple good episodes and a couple bad ones. But yeah, some of the new stuff not too great for Discovery. Kind of jumped off after season 2. But yeah, I'm excited for
So
Picard.
real quick, the reason I'm asking about Picard because I saw a trailer. Did Data come out the first season, or is
Yeah,
they hyped up for the second season, or whatever season they're going into?
no, he does play a cameo in season 1. He pops out for a few episodes, but he's definitely not a main character. He's not in there every episode. He just comes out here and there.
How
But
do
It's not even the real Data though, right? Because didn't Data die?
in one of the movies?
well, in the movies, the last movie that they made, he does die. He goes back to save Picard, beams him off, and he comes back to the Enterprise, or I believe it's the Enterprise that he comes back to. The Data that's currently alive is actually the android
The first
B4.
gen?
The
Yes.
B4. Yeah, his name is B4 or something
Yeah.
like that, if I remember right. And they download like Data's memory onto him, but the android that now is
Through the
Data
cloud.
is kind of like a dumbed down version, kids version. It's
Oh
kind of
God.
like the Data when he first came onto the Enterprise, where he's still kind of not well versed in the human interactions. So they kind of play it off as that he's an infant again and he needs
He's
to
the
grow up
beta.
again. Yeah. So uh, at least that's how they got around him
I
dying and then bringing Data back, because he even comes back in the movie. In the last movie where he dies, they show him being turned back on, and it's B4, and then Picard's talking to him, and he's kind of talking to him like a kid, like, well, why do you eat? And it's just like, oh, we eat for nourishment. And I don't remember if that was it, but it was something so simplistic that B4 was like confused, like, why do you do that? And it kind of gave you the impression like, all right, this is a kid that's got to learn everything again.
Well, yeah, the reason I bring it up because you kind of answered the question I had. My disdain for Data in that character, and like when I saw him,
What?
he looked older and stuff. I'm like, how do they explain him getting fatter and older when in the a next generation? And then you told me like, well, even if it's a different model or whatever,
Right.
like it just to me that was like visually, I'm just like, well, he's older. Like, how the fuck they're gonna explain all this shit? But you kind of answered it.
Well, in Next Generation, even they do explain that his hair grows, his skin does, his skin and his hair grow normally, or at least they play it off that that soon the developer, his father, that he made him so real like that he actually grows and evolves as time. I mean, towards the last seasons, he started having dreams. So he started having dreams. He started having emotions. He got in touch with this emotion chip that
Wasn't
they
he
gave him.
banging the board queen in one of the movies?
Yeah, towards the last ones, yeah. Well,
You
that
think
was
he hit that
just
right?
it was to save the Federation. Andy, come on, man.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
who wouldn't, man? I mean,
He's
Jesus
like
Christ.
processing on my next move here, and he like malfunctions. I don't know what to do. I'm just like. But I know when she blew on his skin, he got all those goosebumps. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's he's sexually aroused there or something. It was like so fucking weird. I just don't like Data, man. Danny knows. I don't know how much you know, but I don't like that character.
I don't get it, man. He's one of
I
the
don't.
best. Like, it's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
made Next Generation so different. Is that they had all these people with like different personalities and quirks. You had Jordy with the freaking visor and
Like I
shit.
get number one
Riker.
Riker, like, cause
Riker.
he wants to hook up with the ladies. He's more Kirk-esque.
Yeah, you had
Picard
that
is
like
like
psychic
with the,
lady. What's her
yeah.
name?
He's like, I can't help myself.
And
Help
You
she's
me.
know,
in Picard too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was an Enterprise. They had cameos on Enterprise.
That
Right,
was
and
a cool show too.
Enterprise, and even Voyager. Well, I don't know if she had it. I know that that goofy guy from the A Team, he was in Voyager in a few episodes.
Oh, Animal. Is it Animal? Yeah,
No,
the
yeah,
skinny guy.
Animal. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the guy with the helicopter
Yeah. Hmm.
guy. I forget his name. But anyways, man, Next Generation is awesome, man. It's an awesome show. Like I said, I've watched it like 5 times all the way through, or even more. I don't know,
Yeah,
because
I'm
it's just
always.
great.
I tried it, Danny, because of what you told me, and I couldn't get into it. I love Deep Space Nine. Voyager, I tried it for like 2 seasons. I just didn't intrigue me. I really liked Enterprise. I kind of liked Discovery, but it got weird. I know they made a spin-off of that one, right? With
Yeah,
Pike.
that's the one I'm interested in watching. Right.
And the lower decks, it was like mixed. I don't know. Like I'm not I like some Star Trek. Some of the movies are decent, but that's about it.
And it's funny because you keep telling me about how Deep Space is good. Man, I've tried watching that first season like 3 times, and I just can't get past like episode 2 or 3. It's just like too brutal, and I'm just like, nah, I can't
It's
watch this thing.
like you told me like you need to watch Next Generation like with season 3 because they were still kind of trying to figure it out.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
Because
after
after
season 3, yeah, like same thing with Deep Space Nine's. After starting the third season, they get into that long arc with the Dominion War, and like it just takes off from there. The first 2 seasons, especially the first season, they were trying to make it kind of like Next Generation, and then they're like, we got to change this up. And you start seeing that halfway through season 2, and season 3 it just takes off, man. But first season, they were like, I haven't seen a documentary. They were like debating that we don't want to make it like Next Generation on a fucking space station. We need to like change it up, and they
right.
finally made committed to that, and the show just took off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sure Deep Space is the same way, but after finishing the season finale, the last episode for Next Generation, I went back and watched episode 1 again, even though I've watched it a few, dozen times. And right away, you tell the difference of the way they were directing, the way they filmed it. So yeah, definitely, it changes as the years pass on. But Andy, I think Noel, I think that's enough Next Generation talk. Tell me about Resident Evil movie, man. Please don't tell me that it's terrible. Tell me it's the best movie ever. I'm excited about this movie. I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited about watching it because supposedly it stays true to the video game. Tell
Oh
us about
man.
it, man.
All right, man. I have to let you down just right off the bat. I'm gonna just rip it off like a band-aid. Uh, it's one of the worst movies I've probably ever seen.
Oh man, even worse
I
than the Dukarovich chick, or what was that lady that's been doing the other Resident Evil movies?
honestly,
Panovich.
I think I would rather watch all those movies again than finish watching this one because I only made it
Jesus.
like an hour and 20 through, and it's like an hour and 47. So it's like 20 more minutes, and I'm just like, it's just hard to see how much they messed this up. To begin with, the story is a mishmash of Resident Evil 1 and 2, but it's not like a combination that's like put together intricately and well thought out. It's like literally they just grabbed the two stories and just collided them. And then shit just splattered everywhere, and characters
Jesus.
are in one place and other characters are in another place. And you're like, what the fuck is like? I had no idea what was going on throughout the whole movie. And
And
I play the
Resident
games.
Evil, right? Yeah.
I play the games many times. I know what's supposed to happen to an extent, like my memory sometimes, will, have gaps here and there, but for the most part, I get the story. Even Resident Evil Zero, the prequel, I was hoping to see something about that, but they didn't include any of that. They just included it was Jill, Wesker, Chris, Leon, Claire, and no Barry, and you do get to see the chief, the police chief, but it starts out with Leon and Chris and all the other people in a police station, and that already blew my mind. I'm like, what the fuck's this? Like, what's going on here? And it also has Claire, like, it changed the backstories. It has Claire growing up in some orphanage, and you know what? I don't want to spoil it, man, because if you end up watching it, you're gonna understand within the first 5 minutes. It won't even take probably that long. Probably within the first 2 minutes, you're gonna just understand that they didn't give a shit about continuity. They didn't give a shit about the story, the foundation that was laid decades long back in the 90s when this game came out. They're just like, nah, let's write it new. Let's race swap everybody and let's just do some SJW shit. And
Wow.
I have no problem with strong female characters, no problem whatsoever. There's so many different movies that I enjoyed and shows that had strong female leads, and they didn't need to do anything special because Jill and Claire are already badass in their own right. They already had their own moments and their own abilities that make them stand out as good quality characters. But for whatever reason, it made the guys seem like stupid, dumb beta males, and the females seem like alphas, like they're the ones that carry the big dick around. And out of nowhere, Claire is ordering Leon, he's a dark-haired, dark complexion Indian man, Leon Kennedy, and she's ordering him around to tell him what to do because he's scared and unaware of what to do against this zombie invasion. The
Jesus.
zombies looked like a fan movie that's like they only had like $100 for makeup. That's the quality of the zombies.
Jesus, man. This sounds like the Matrix, man. Where have you seen the new Matrix? I talked about it a couple episodes ago.
Still haven't seen
I
it.
still haven't seen it.
Oh man, you're gonna be disappointed, man.
I know.
Neo's like, help me, Trinity, help me, I need help. I was just like, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on?
This is just the new generation, man. The SJWs, man.
There's a lot of articles or blogs and stuff coming out on social media about how the Matrix kind of like failed, and they discuss kind of what you're discussing, how they made
Blamed it on
Neo,
Neo.
yeah, how they made him a simp or whatever, and the all-knowing Neo isn't all-knowing, and that's why they say they're starting to point some of that. That's one of the reasons they don't like what they did to that character.
Yeah, I heard that like really powered him down. He wasn't able to fly at will anymore, and yeah, I haven't watched the new Matrix, but I imagine it's going to be a lot similar to this in terms of disappointment. I was watching it with my cousin yesterday, and we're both Resident Evil fans. So he had already seen it. He watched it in theaters when it came out, and he paid for this. It was like $15 ticket when it first came out. And I asked him like, so like, how did you sit through this? Because I'm watching it with him, and he's just laughing because he knows I'm struggling to watch this. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is going on? I really got upset. Like I really got upset about it because I just can't fathom how they have so many games that have come out, so many different stories being told in the series, decades long, dude, like multiple decades, and they still cannot get the story right in a film. They had to just do their own thing. I don't know why. Like it's so ass backwards to me that you have all this source material and you have money and you're just like, nah, let me do a different story. It's just it's so frustrating, bro.
Like it's gonna bring more people in if I do this.
Yeah,
And like you're tossing aside that core audience that it has built in already.
I didn't know much about the movie. I kind of saw the first trailer and it looked authentic to the video game instead of what those original Resident Evil movies were doing. So I was excited, man. I was excited. to watch this recreation of what I presume was going to be Resident Evil 1. And it's disappointing to hear that it's not going to be that, man. I'm still kind of curious to watch it, but now I'm even less so from the sound of it. But I think I'm still probably gonna watch it. Maybe it's not at the top of my list. I still got to watch a couple other movies that I got in my queue. Like I got the Ghostbusters movie, and one or two other ones that are in my queue that just recently came out. But yeah, Resident Evil. I still want to kind of watch it. Still want to check out this train wreck, man. I'm hoping it was just my cousin egging you on and telling you, bro, this is terrible. This is terrible. And kind of getting you thinking that it was terrible from the get-go. But man, I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't heard good things about it. So I imagine it's in best case it's bad, kind of thing.
That's pretty spot on. Yeah, the best case is that it's going to be a bad experience. Uh, yeah, no, he wasn't even egging me on. I had seen the trailer and I had seen already a few minutes of it, and I knew I wasn't going to like it. But then when we got together, we started talking about it, and he's like, "Bro, you got to watch it. Like, you just got to sit through it." And we have like this tradition of watching like questionable movies, like because we love horror movies, and a lot of horror movies are pretty bad, dude. And like, there's some good ones, right? Like Hereditary. There was one I just saw recently. It's escaping my mind, but there's some good horror movies. But most of them, yeah, they're kind of like 5 or 6 out of 10. This one, I started out at 2 out of 10. I gave it a 3, but it's probably like a 2.5 to be honest, out of 10. Um, just to like, I'll end it on this. Chris Redfield, you kind of know somewhat of his backstory a little bit. Him and Claire are siblings.
Right.
In this movie, they're still siblings, but Claire grew up in some kind of weird orphanage for all girls, and Chris was raised by like Wesker and Birkin, and he got put through the academy, and that's how he works for Stars. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, at what point was Birkin, the scientist, working with Chris Redfield? Why do they even know each other? Like, I don't remember that being part of the games. The liquors were in the movie. That was I'm gonna finish it off with some positives, just so it's not all negative here. The liquors look cool, but the CG was overused in a lot of different areas, and it was kind of poorly done. The CG is not believable at all, really. But the liquor was cool. The way he killed one of the people was cool. The zombies, like I said, they didn't look good, but there were one or two scenes where things got kind of like suspenseful, where I was like, finally, all right, this is like more towards horror. But then it got quickly thrown out in the garbage when they started doing like more comedic shit. And I'll let you watch it so you'll know what I'm talking about. It definitely was more like a horror comedy. They didn't take it seriously. You could tell that they thought the writing was shit, and the writing was on the wall that this movie was gonna flop, and so the actors kind of just started phoning it in. But there were like maybe 2 or 3 good scenes where I was like, okay, that was kind of cool. Like it got suspense to build for 20 seconds.
Jesus.
That, that's the problems with today's movies, especially when I don't want to say I don't know if this is like a reboot or the continuation from the old movies, but once you read that they're redoing a movie or it's a reboot, you're right. You're instantly, if you like that franchise, you're like, fuck, they're gonna fuck this up. Like they're gonna probably like instantly they're gonna try to SJW it up, and then you're like, you're not gonna like it. And that's probably my thing lately. Like with these newer movies, I'm just like, fuck it. I'd rather watch old movies than this because I guess I don't want to deal with the disappointment.
Yeah, dude, it's exactly that. Like whenever they do something that has like an iconic, like a cult following, all the people that like are fans of it, they start worrying what they're gonna fuck up and what they're gonna get wrong. And you can't appease every fan. Like even The Witcher, I thought it was really good, but I never really played the games or read the books, so I never really had investment in every single intricate detail. And so when they started, race swapping a few characters, I didn't even notice, and they all played the characters well, so I didn't even care. but people that are like diehard fans are like, no, this guy should look this way and he should look that way. And I'm like, well, I get their frustrations, but at least the movie or the show was done well, regardless of some of the changes. But this movie, bro, it legitimately, like honestly, it's terrible. It's horrible. I would seriously watch the Alice movies, the ones with the Mia Jovovich, because at least those, like, it actually had like quality cinematography and somewhat better script writing, even though it was like a completely weird, fantastical story. But if you never even knew about Resident Evil and you watched this movie, I think even then you would be like, "What the fuck's going on? Who are these guys? Why are they doing this?" I think even then people wouldn't like it, but at least they wouldn't be as upset because they don't have an investment in the franchise itself. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. One other thing I was doing recently is I started rewatching the X Files, and I'm on season 4 now.
Nice.
Yeah, fucking, I had to watch something good after all that. So,
Are you watching like the HD upgrades? I know they did that
hmm
recently, or is it just the old 4:3 as standard definition ones?
no, no, I got the 1080p, and I
Yeah.
got it. It's like in a format that's compressed, so I doesn't take up too much hard drive space.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So yeah, it's the quality's great. Like I couldn't even really tell that it was like an old show, like from the 90s. The quality compared to other 90s shows that I've gotten in 1080p, this is like really well done.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. A couple episodes ago, I was talking about I was rewatching NYPD Blue
hmm
on Hulu, and it was 1080p. Like they upgraded it, and you wouldn't even tell like that was a show from the 90s because it was 4:3 screens back in the day, and to me
Right.
it looked immaculate for the age of the show. And I know they were doing. I remember reading something like that. They're doing something like that for X Files and some other shows.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job, man. And they compressed it to a point where the quality is really good, yet it doesn't take up a lot of space on your hard drive. So I was excited about that. I've been watching it on my TV for past week or two. And man, it's just because when I watched it like the first time, I watched it with like Daniel. He'd come home from work, and then in Fox TV would be on, and you just start watching whatever was on there, like Simpsons and then X Files and stuff like that. So I only got to see a few episodes here and there, and then when you got the DVD series, like maybe years down the line, I got to see a couple episodes here and there, and I had my select list of like favorite episodes from season 1. So I'm like, man, I gotta watch this now in 1080p. And dude, man, I love the show, dude. It's just so great. And especially in the time period we live in now with all these conspiracy theories, all this talk about the government, one world order, all this crazy shit that's going on in the world. And watching the X Files, it's like, all right, like I see more than I thought I would see, especially now that I'm an adult. Like I'm more aware of what's going on, and I can like read between the lines a little bit better than when I was a kid. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean that was what made X Files so great. If thinking about it right now, they dealt with a ton of subjects through the whole what like 9 years: conspiracies, government conspiracies, cryptoids, UFO, occult. They dealt with everything across the board, and many of the episodes, and I think a lot of younger people should watch it because I think I watched a couple of the episodes here and there, and it's still a lot of them still hold up, and it's I think it's a show that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, I know that
100%.
while I was watching some Next Generation, I also peeked in a few X Files, and I got up to season 2. And yeah, man, that's still a great show and a good watch for sure.
Yeah, that first season is gold, man. Like
Yeah.
it's just solid, and there's so many good episodes. The one with the spiders, the one where they're at the ice station with the weird like worm thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good episodes in that first season, and it just gets you hooked to keep watching and watching. And yeah, dude. Well, anyway, speaking about UFOs and all that stuff, I see you wanted to talk about the decline of sightings recently.
So I'm always been into like UFOs, and like when I was growing up, they had a lot of like UFO specials on TV in the '90s, going up to the early 2000s. Like we had the show Sightings. You had the Alien Autopsy. They had Janet Frakes. Riker had a special on Roswell. Uh, there was a special on Sci-Fi on Roswell and Case Closed, and those that subject matter, like it's old, like back in the 90s it was like 40, 50 years, and to this day you don't hear about any of that. And then like once in a while I'll go on YouTube. There's a couple channels I follow about UFOs, and like the only thing that's somewhat like relevant right now is the ones that broke like 2 years ago about the government releasing some of that footage. I don't know if you guys saw that TikTok video of the Tic Tac UFO, where like they released some footage of that, and like that's been about it, man. And like with all these going back to the 90s, early 2000s with home video, everybody recorded with the home video camera. They're always like, as people get more cameras and home videos, we're gonna see more and more recordings of UFOs. And today you see stuff, but a lot of it's like fucking fake. And then a lot of it, and then the stuff that does hold up, it's it's not really news. Nobody, you have to really, really search on it on YouTube. And I just fucking feel like a lot of that, I don't want to be saying suppressed. I think the people don't really care anymore as much as I do.
Yeah, I gotta admit, you would think there'd be better videos and more so of them. I mean, you're constantly watching these Karen videos, and they're finding those all over the place. You would think they
Yes,
would find a UFO
exactly.
video every now and then.
Yeah, like exactly. And there's stuff that you find. Like I was really intrigued on the pyramid UFOs. I don't know if you remember that a couple years back. There was one over like the Kremlin, and there was one over the White House. Um, and multiple like YouTube channels were talking about it, and some of the UFO blogs, and like nothing really came of it. It just like disappeared. And there was multiple people who had recordings of it on their phone, and they uploaded it, and like it just like it fell. I feel like it fell on deaf ears. The only one that kind of talked about it was the reporter from Mexico, Jaime Musan. He kind of went in depth, but it's all in Spanish. I speak Spanish, so I got the gist of it. But a lot of people, I mean, I think that video I saw of him, it had like less than like 30,000 views, and I was like, this shit should be millions, in my head. But it just came and went, and then you see a couple things here and there, and like that's it. And I'm just like, why is this not a bigger thing, especially with the government saying that they spend money on UFO or UAPs now, as they call it, unknown aerial phenomenon. And they released a couple videos, and it just felt like on deaf ears. And to me, like I remember the Phoenix Lights, and it was like national news. Everyone was talked about it, and like you don't see that shit no more. So I don't know if there's like a lockdown on the news media, or is it just gonna take uh, citizen journalists to upload this stuff and just go from there?
I think that's part of it, is that the media is controlled by the government, kind of. They get a lot of money from the government, and so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a combination of multiple things, but part of it is that the government seems to want to suppress all this shit. And even though they said they were going to reveal stuff, like we still haven't seen any of that. So who knows,
Yeah, I
man?
mean, even if they do reveal, I think it's gonna be so controlled. It's gonna be like I don't. I think it's gonna be like I personally think it's just gonna be like a blip. Like, yeah, oh, the government's been into contact with the aliens, so they're gonna do something, and then like, let's go see what's happening with tomorrow's weather. Like, it's gonna be like nothing. Like, in you read some of the like what's going on today in the world, and like, I used to believe if they admitted the government, and I think it would be big news. But today, I think it's gonna get so downplayed, it don't even matter. Or maybe it's something. It's one of the new theories of like they're from the future and all this other crap, or interdimensional. That's the new thing lately. The last couple of years is they're interdimensional, and I just don't know the '90s Andy, which when I first watched all this shit, I was just like, oh man, they're from fucking outer space. And then like slowly all that started morphing now, and it's become maybe too so much normal that people don't give a fuck. I don't know, and I still do, and I'm still stuck in the '90s.
Yeah, I was really shocked when the church admitted that there might be aliens.
Yeah,
I was like, wow.
yeah. They said that they would welcome it, and they would baptize them and all this stuff. I'm like, well, why? If it's such bullshit, why would the church say that, right? And um, a lot of countries released a lot of their UFO files. And to me, you read some of this stuff and like got translated, and it's just like, this is fucking nuts. And like, the reason I'm bringing it up, a couple weekends ago, I was watching the sci-fi documentary that got released in the late '90s, early 2000s, was the Roswell one with the Raimi memo. I don't know if you guys ever remember that. One of the pictures where they're taken from Roswell with the weather balloon, they have one of the guys has like a folded up paper, and you can see there's writing on it, there's typing on it. So they always said, oh, you can't really read what it says. So with the computers, they went in there and they zoomed in whatever they were to recognize the letters, and they formed the sentences. And then they're like, we can't tell what word or letter this is, and these are the possible letters that to complete that word. And it was basically saying the memo says they got disc, they have bodies, and they transferred them to Wright Air Force Base. The occupants, I think the word they used was occupants or something like, or passengers. The word was passengers. So to me, like, there's proof right there that Roswell was true, and they got bodies, and but nobody fucking talks about it.
Yeah, that's weird, man. You would think there'd be more, man. I know everything keeps pointing towards something has to exist, but I don't know. I'm kind of leaning the other way now. Maybe with the slowdown of new videos or new information, maybe it's starting to catch up where it's not real, man. It's like there's finally enough technology to kind of see that this stuff is far fetched and it's not really obtainable or not something realistic. And maybe it just doesn't exist, and that's why it's kind of slowed down.
Like the other thing, the stuff you do see now, back in the day, like again, going to when I used to watch a lot of the straight to video VHS documentaries or whatever they released on TV, a lot of the discs were the same. It was either a round spaceship or the cigar shaped ones. The new ones, they're like triangles or cubes. And I always wonder, like, why. So, like, what happened, you know? And like, even when they have these super satellites or super telescopes going into the sun, I don't know if you guys seen that. They've seen cubes right in front of the sun, taking like putting like a probe or something down, and ships coming out of, well, allegedly, ships coming or something square or cigar shape coming out of the sun from the sun's surface. And people are like, what is this? And like, I seen multiple videos and people talking about this, and this is and it's just like, damn, it's fucking shit going in and out of the sun, and it ain't ours. Like, this is weird. And I mean, to me, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, I think ufology, I think there's just a fucking decline in some. I'm saying that it wasn't always accurate, but there's like a lot of bullshit left, and like there was a lot of hoaxes back in the day, and I think that's the problem.
Well, it's a lot easier to make videos on your phone now, so it's probably gonna be harder to really be credible in the eyes of the many
Yeah,
because
like
almost anyone can make a
that
video like
Tom
that.
Cruise fakes, right? That would like took the internet by storm. Remember like last year, this guy that looked like Tom Cruise and sounded like, but that was all fake, right? Did
I
you
don't
ever
remember
see
see
that?
that. Nah, I never saw
Oh
that.
my
I'm
god!
gonna look it
And
up
then
though.
they had the Nixon fake too, where they made a speech out through editing and CGI where one of the Apollo moon landings, the shuttle crashed or something, like the LEM crashed and they all died. So that they made like a mock press conference saying that they all died and crashed using all deep fake videos and all this other shit.
Yeah, dude, Running Man is becoming more and more like a possibility of
Yeah,
being like real. It's
yeah.
crazy, dude. Crazy
But yeah,
times.
man, you people let me know what people think out there at ffnquestions@gmail.com, because to me, the UFO growing up, it was like I was all into it. I read books, Chariots of the Gods, and all this stuff. And to how it's going right now, it's kind of disappointing to say the least. But the other thing I got going on, someone in my family signed up to Paramount Plus. They're like, here, you want to use it? Here you go. And I've always wanted to try it. And oh man, the app fucking sucks. And plus
So,
the content isn't, the only thing I watched so far is the post COVID, the South Park. And I was going through their whole like media thing and none of it like, and you know where I got disappointed too? I thought for sure Yellowstone was gonna be on there and it's not. It's on fucking Peacock, which is even worse. Peacock sucks too. And I got so fucking disappointed, man. I'm like, fuck this.
yeah, it's still kind of early though, so maybe they're gonna work out the kinks because even Netflix, even Amazon Prime, when they first started, the app was like it left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, Amazon Prime early didn't work with Chromecast because I got Chrome. That's how I watched it on my TV. I don't have a smart TV, and yeah, it just fucking sucked. I know, Danny, you said you had it, or I don't know if you gave it up. The only thing that's cool, you get the local CBS affiliate, but that's about it.
Yeah, I actually just recently canceled it. I still have it. Um, I think it's for like another week or two, and then finally it cancels. But yeah, man, the app is terrible. The only thing that worked fairly well was the mobile app. That's how I got to watch Next Generation because on my PlayStation it kept crashing on me and I wasn't able to watch it well. So then I put it on my phone and it would work. And then I would cast it to my TV and then that was the way I was able to watch like that last season of Next Generation because for whatever reason it just started crashing on me. And it actually wouldn't let me watch one episode. It kept skipping it on the TV app or on the PlayStation app and that's what led me to turn it on my mobile and get it to work that way. But yeah, man, the application is not bad. I mean, it is bad, and it's not good. They really need to fix that. They need to launch it on PlayStation 5 because it's not even on PlayStation 5, the application. But the one that's on my Samsung Smart TV and PlayStation is not good.
Yeah, I got it on my iPad, and even when I was signing up to set, like, you could put different users. I was signing up mine, and like it crashed on me once. So then I did it again, and then I closed it out and restarted it, and I was on there twice. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? And then I started like going through it, and like the content wasn't the best. And I mean, like I said, the only thing that caught my eye was the South Park. Even when I was casting it, I ran into some issues, and I was like flipping through it, and man, I was like, yeah, I didn't even know. I thought Beavis and Butthead was on there. I didn't even see that. Or they were pushing like some MTV channel tab thing. I don't know. It's fucking weird. And And then yeah, it was just like it wasn't good, and then it wasn't a good experience. The interface, the UI was nice. It crashed. Even when I casted it, it was just not good. I don't know how else to say it. I was disappointed, and the South Park, the post COVID was good. It was fucking hilarious. Like I got to see Cartman. I get to hear Cartman fucking, which was weird.
Right.
But that was like the only funny thing about it. And, like, but yeah, I did the, and I noticed that they put all the Star Trek stuff in there because it used to be everywhere. It was like on Netflix. It was on Amazon Prime. I was even on like Hulu, and then I'm like, oh, they have all the Star Trek here. And I searched on Prime, and I see it's only on the where you pay for it. So I'm like, I guess they're just moving all the Star Trek stuff there.
Yeah, when I started having those issues, like I mentioned, I tried to go on Prime because that's where I used to watch it, and yeah, it was gone. Netflix, it was gone, or not Netflix, but Hulu, it was gone. So yeah, it looks like Paramount Plus is the only place to watch it.
But yeah, I mean, like if you guys use it, let us know what you guys think. Because I'm not even paying for it. I'm not happy about it. So if you guys, maybe I'm using maybe on another platform or another operating like Android or something, it might be better. But on the iOS, it wasn't the best. But you know what's with that being said, let's see, you know what's the best. A former hip hop artist acquired an old label, and that's going to take us into our article of the week. So with that being said, you know me, I'm a '90s kid. My youth was in the '90s here, and when I read this was kind of shocking. Snoop Dogg acquires Death Row Records. This is an article from Variety, and that caught my eye. I'm like, oh, okay, like why would he buy Death Row, right? Like I knew they got acquired by like some hedge fund or something a couple years back. So they were releasing like a lot of like T-shirts and like just hoodies and shit, and I mean they weren't really doing much with it. So, but Snoop bought it. Apparently, he got a great price. And he put, you know how they're gonna be at the Super Bowl halftime show, that he's gonna be releasing his new album, BODR, which is Back on Death Row, on Friday. So it might be out already on his Death Row Records label. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. And like to me, so you know, the article talks about now that he owns it. He goes, I'm thrilled and appreciative of the opportunity to acquire the iconic and culturally significant Death Row Records brand, which has immense untapped future value. It feels good to have ownership of the label I was a part of at the beginning of my career and one of its founding members. So I started thinking like, okay, he's buying it. He's actually going to release music on it. But what does being on like a record label such as Death Row or Bad Boy or you know, does that even matter in today's music world? I'm not like this connoisseur of new music here. I just know people mumble rap. They're dumping stuff on SoundCloud and all this other crap. But you didn't hear like, oh, we're part of this record label. That does that even matter in today's world? I'm glad he bought Death Row, but obviously he doesn't own all the music that's on there. He did an article talks about trying to buy some of the masters of the original Death Row music catalog and all that other stuff. So, but going back to my question, you think that even matters that you're pushing a brand of a record label that's so it used to be like the thing back in the day? Now does that even matter?
Well, I'm not a rapping expert or expert on the industry, but I do kind of like listen for a few things here and there, and I've heard from interviews. So Snoop Dogg, he made a lot of money, but part of that was because Master P helped him out in his
Yes.
early career, and so he gives a lot of credit to Master P for inspiring him to put out music and to make money without being too greedy about it. So Master P allowed him to make his music creatively and freedom, and then made his money, and then he went on his way. And so Snoop Dogg already has this mentality of like, let's help out our fellow rappers, let's help everybody become rich, and not just like Suge Knight. He stole a lot of music from a lot of people, and he did a lot of shady stuff, which got him in trouble, obviously legally.
Yeah, 'cause he's
And
in jail right now. He's in
yeah,
prison.
like that whole Vanilla Ice thing. Like, imagine if Vanilla Ice never had that happen to him. Could he have been a popular rapper, since those days? And we'll never know. But for other people, Snoop Dogg now has a chance to make this label bring up a lot of new young artists and do it in a way where they can all make their money. Snoop will get a cut, of course, but at least he won't be as greedy as other previous owners have been. So I'm kind of excited to see. The label does matter in terms of like being recognized quicker, because they can give you marketing, they can give you exposure, and just being around certain influential people. Like Jay-Z has Rockefeller, and then you have Bad Boy, and then you got Death Row, and there's a few other big ones too. I think Birdman has his own thing. Anyway, what
Yeah,
Snoop's
Cash
doing right
Money or
now.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Cash Money. I was blanking on the name. I was like, what the hell's the name? Yeah, so Dre has his own thing. Eminem, 50 Cent was. I saw an interview with Jay-Z about how he was telling his whole stable of Rockefeller rappers. He's like, hey, man, we got to get our shit popping, because once 50 Cent comes on the scene, it's game over. And sure enough, this is, a long, like an old interview, but when 50 Cent came out, all the shit that Rockefeller was doing, all the albums they came out with didn't even come close to the sales that 50 Cent had. So the label, it does kind of matter, but you're right. There's a lot of artists that just do like SoundCloud and shit like that. But I think if they were to like hook up with Snoop, they can definitely get more exposure.
I
And
I don't even know if SoundCloud's still a thing. I mean, I don't hear about that no more. I mean, I
Well, you
guess
are an
yeah.
old guy, Andy.
I admit it, man. That's what I'm saying. Like when Death Row, when we were growing up, man, that was the shit, dude. Like culturally iconic, like that. That's a great word because if you're on Death Row, like that shit was gonna sell millions of records. I mean, when records were CDs and cassettes were still being fucking made, and like when the Chronic and Doggy Style and when Tupac went there and the fucking soundtracks they were releasing, like all that shit was popping back in the day. But today, I mean, I don't know the metrics and how they measure how it's successful unless he comes up with like a new business plan. I know. I mean, I read some stuff where they have deals where they own, like you split the cost of everything with the profits with like your touring and all this shit. Unless he's gonna make like some nostalgic shit, or like we're gonna go on tour or Death Row, like, and he's gonna bring back everybody else. I mean, I don't know how if he's just gonna be pushing like Death Row Records, like some like brand shit. I don't know, but I'm glad he's releasing something on it through with his album, which he owned. It sounds like he's gonna own everything, so that's cool. And if it's successful, we'll see what happens.
Right. I mean, Death Row filed for bankruptcy back in 2006, so they've been having issues for a while now. And then the artists that are still technically there under the label are not many, and they're
No,
mostly
if any, yeah.
Snoop Dogg's guys like Daz Dillinger, the Dog Pound, Corrupt. So there's not many in that stable any longer. So and where before there was a huge amount of big stars, Dre, Doc, Tupac, and it was just a ton of great, even like a little Bow Wow, Lady of Rage, MC Hammer for a minute, Nate Dogg, which is dead. But yeah, it was
Yeah,
some
like Nate Dogg.
huge.
Like,
Yeah,
remember we are waiting, when's Nate Dogg album gonna come out, right? And like it never came out. It came out after everybody left Death Row, and he put it on like some independent label that I don't know. And like I think you got a copy of you bought the CD or you found it or some shit. I remember
right.
hearing it was like a double disc CD, and I remember you were rocking it for like a minute or something, but it wasn't on Death Row. I know that.
Right. I think ultimately this is a good thing. Just because it might bring some nostalgia or some kind of credibility back to Death Row. Snoop Dogg can slowly bring some young stars over, kind of promote them. Snoop Dogg's always been a really good sideman to a lot of artists, and I think he can do
Damn.
that. Well, I mean, he does a lot of good solo stuff on his own, but there's tons of stuff where he's like the starring, where it's J Lo with Snoop Dogg, and then even country stars with Snoop Dogg, and a bunch of different stuff. So he's a good supporting character for a lot of young artists, and I think this will kind of entice people to come over to his label.
Yeah. Again, it's I'm intrigued and I want to see what business plan on the business side, but I'm glad he owns it. I'm hope he could do something with it with branding and actually release some music and maybe make. Man, I'm a sucker for low low budget B hood movies. I love that shit. I even watched Mac 10's hood movie, Thicker Than Water. I bought the damn DVD. It's fucking pretty good. Uh, I love hood movies, and I
You
hope
even
they.
bought Death Row Christmas, didn't you?
Nah, man, I bought the tape after Dre and like Snoop left, Death Row Uncut or something. You ever seen that? And they're showing their old music videos, and like fucking Suge and a bunch of guys are just talking shit about like Dre and fucking Snoop. And it was like he's shitting on the people that are making him a ton of money because they left. But yes, there was a Death Row Christmas album. You're right, Dan. I remember that too. So like I said, today's kids like remember then. I don't know about you. Remember Noel when Smoking Indo, like that Gin and Juice song. When there was they would air it on TV, they wouldn't say Indo. They'd just be the chorus would be saying smoking, smoking twice, which was fucking weird when you're listening to the CD. And back in the day they wouldn't air some of those videos after a certain time and shit. And then if they did air it, it was like heavily edited and like they had blurred out fucking t-shirts and shit. Because today it was just like people wouldn't even think twice. But back in the day, like at that time, like man, these motherfuckers are fucking real. And MTV had to show it, but they edited the shit out of it.
That's because that Dare program was running strong at that time.
No, yeah,
But
for sure, man. It's some good nostalgia stuff, man. Hearing Death Row's name again from reading this article was cool, man. And I think Snoop got it exactly at the right time because he's gonna be
he
at
got
the
it cheap.
He's gonna be at the Super Bowl. He's gonna be able to
Yes.
promote it. He might have a Death Row shirt on, something to kind of put it up in the front row, kind of thing.
He
And
stuck. He hit it with the iron that's hot. Because you're right. The Super Bowl. I bet you he'll be wearing something with Death Row. Absolutely.
but yeah, man, good for him, good for the industry, and hopefully good for Death Row. But guys, I think that's all the time we have for today. We'd like to thank you all for listening. Remember, always follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. Go to our webpage, freeform podbean.com. There you're going to see all our links for all our different older episodes, all our new stuff. Subscribe, hit that like button on YouTube. We've been posting all of our episodes there. Go visit us there, hit that like, subscribe, and that bell to get notified for all the drops. And send those questions, man. We like seeing them. ffnquestions@gmail.com. But yeah, for Freeform Radio, my name is Daniel. We got Noel.
Hey, everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode.
And Andy.
It's all good. And Danny's correct. MC Hammer was in Death Row. I think they even mentioned it in the Straight Outta Compton movie that they were pissed that they signed Hammer. If I remember correctly.
But yeah, that's about all the time we got. We'd like to thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Dad.